Welcome to Female Fluence. We are a place of women empowering women. This is a safe environment where females are not judged nor afraid to flourish. My goal is to help you live an energized life of balance, whether as a mom, a wife, or in your profession. It is time to have self-worth and self-compassion. Live in the present moment and surround yourself with only healthy connections. So join me, Pearl Shur, a woman empowerment life coach, an educator, and a mother of 3 to help take you on a journey of true identity and inspiration. Perspective has numerous definitions because it holds unique meaning for each individual. By placing situations in perspective, we can attain a state of relaxation and approach them in a controlled manner. However, cultivating a positive outlook on situations becomes significantly challenging without mental discipline, focus, and commitment. By refining our mindset and harnessing the power of perspective, we can effectively navigate any situation, enabling us to unlock our full potential in life. Undoubtedly, life can be a roller coaster or a box of chocolates. While we agree that while it has beautiful moments, there are instances when hope seems distant. It is during those challenging moments that we must remain open to opportunities for change, growth, and hope. However, we need to acknowledge that putting this into practice is far easier said than done. Consider the following situation. What if you were informed that you had 1% chance to live? How would you maintain hope? How would you sustain a positive perspective? Today, we are honored to have Alexa Carlin on my show. Alexa Carlin is not only an entrepreneur and author, but also a powerful speaker. Through her coaching and training company, she has created Woman Power X, where she assists entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Alexa has collaborated with Fortune 500 global brands to create captivating content and has been featured on Oprah Winfrey Network, Fox, ABC, CBS, TEDX, as well as renowned magazines like Entrepreneur, Glamor, and Forbes. Alexa's life took a transformative turn when she decided to refine her mindset during challenging circumstances. At the tender age of 17, she received the devastating news that she had a mere 1% chance of survival after experiencing a septic shock. Against all odds, she firmly advocates for recognizing opportunities within tragedies, no matter how difficult they may seem. Alexa, I'm so honored to have you on my show today.
Thanks for having me.
If you could take us back to your career journey, starting in 2009, when you first started your own designing company, how did you get from there to this point, and would you change anything?
My first real quote unquote business was designing jewelry for an LA-based fashion company, where I donated a percentage of proceeds to help them with their mission of building schools in Africa to help villages become self-sustainable through education. I was in high school, getting ready to graduate high school, and that's when I got the sole licensee to design jewelry for this really well-known national company, or international, I guess. And then I started to grow it from my dorm room as I moved and went to college. And that definitely was like my first dive into entrepreneurship and like figuring out how to turn idea into reality, which then led me to starting a blog called Hello Perfect, which was during the time of like social media starting to really like gain a buzz and grow. And that blog's mission was all about instilling confidence in girls and young women. And the reason I started that was because I didn't have confidence in myself growing up. And I knew when I was growing my jewelry business that confidence was the main factor that would hold me back from actually getting to that next level. Through this blog, I had the opportunity to meet a number of influential individuals who helped us gain momentum by joining our movement, redefining perfection, such as Mark Cuban, Shaquille O'Neal, Steve Madden, Rebecca Minkoff, and many others. Then actually I was at age 21 when I was ready to graduate college my entire life changed. I was induced into a medical coma, given a 1% chance to live. And my body went into septic shock. And through that journey, which I'm sure we'll dive more into, but that journey led me to a number of different health challenges, different lessons, really hard lessons learned along the journey. When I finally started to gain my health back, that's when I started to share my story. The more I shared my story, the less alone I felt, as well as the more my business grew. And that led me to starting my own events, small events under my blog's name, which led to the inspiration for Women in Power X, which became one of the largest conferences for women. And then today, to what I do today, in helping others do the same by sharing their story to grow their business and their dreams.
That is remarkable. I feel like your authenticity just came out, and that just led you to your success because you were just being real. You're telling everyone exactly what you're going through and how you're dealing with it. I know it's difficult for you probably, but can you tell us about the time when when you just, like you said, when you was diagnosed and you were induced into a medical coma? But I remember listening on your TEDx talk when you expressed how you pictured your mind to be of this healthy pink color, and you envisioned the pink to kind of pushing down because the rest of your body felt black, like it was rotting, and that was your way to continue having hope. So if you can talk a little bit about that, because I thought that was just amazing. In that situation, you can do that for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely never learned about this beforehand or read it anywhere. It was intuitively all I had control over. So I was in a coma for 6 days, in the ICU for 10. And when I woke up out of the coma, I was still in what they call the danger zone. They still weren't sure of what the outcome would be. And I remember waking up out of the coma, and I had a mask on my face, a tube down my throat, and I was hooked up to 9 different bags of antibiotics. And so I couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own. All I had in my control was my thoughts, was my mind. And I remember feeling so much pain. I didn't really know what was happening. They never told me that my body went into septic shock. I didn't even know what that was at the time. But I remember just thinking that the only thing that I feel is healthy are my thoughts, because that's all I had control over. And so it would push down this healthy pink color that I visualized. It's almost like, when you grow up, you learn about a healthy lung versus a smoker's lung. Well, I picture my body to be like a smoker's lung. Sepsis was killing all of my organs, which was what was happening. And I picture my mind to be this beautiful, pure, healthy pink. And so every ounce of energy I had, I would just push this pink color down to my body to try and heal it, because that's all I had control over.
That's amazing. I mean, as we always hear, the mind is the most powerful thing we have. I mean, it really, really can change everything that's going on with us. So that's amazing that you were able actually to do that in such a difficult situation. And I'm sure it helped you immensely. Now, can you tell us about Women in Power X? Actually, I did go to the one in Los Angeles in 2020. I think that was right before COVID hit.
Yes, and that was right at that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I just have to say, I felt so empowered to be surrounded by such amazing, powerful, confident women. And this was, it was just a good way for me, because it was the beginning of me kind of trying to think of what I want to do and start off. And it just really helped. I needed that boost, and it was really inspiring. So if you can tell us, how did you go about starting this, or what inspired you to do it?
So quick backstory of after my near-death experience, I graduated college, moved to New York City, got my quote unquote dream job working in the fashion industry, and then ended up getting sick again, where unknown to me, that trauma really had a big effect on my organs and digestive system. And I ended up being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So I moved back in with my parents in their house, South Florida, 22 years old. I felt like all my dreams were just taken from me. And I went on this so many years of a healing journey, tried everything under the sun. There was at one point 8 months where I was not even healthy enough to leave my house, let alone walk my dog. And it was really, really hard, because I've always been this passionate go-getter. And here I am where there's nothing I can do. It's my health. And so I started to get on social media more, and I started to share my story. The more vulnerable I became, the more audience I started to attract and the more connections I made. And finally, when I started to get healthy, I was like, I want to share my story on other people's stages and platforms. And when no one gave me a chance, I pitched like 60 different places. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own event. And so at this time, I was hosting these small events. My first event, 5 people showed up and I was like, yes, I get to inspire 5 people. And it was all under my blog's name at the time. And then finally, like after a few events, people in my audience started asking me to speak on their stage. It took about a year to get my first paid gig. But through that process, I started to really see a big disconnect among women. I would be speaking at these different events and it was very segmented off by age, like only millennials were at this event, or by industry, only women in PR were at this event. And I would be hearing all these amazing stories of what people were trying to achieve and what they were doing. And I would be like, have you met this person that's like local in your community? And they're like, no. And nobody was connecting outside of their own little like circle. And while those circles are important, I just thought, how much change can we create if we connect and collaborate with diverse women of different ages, backgrounds, and industries? And that's what really led to the inspiration behind Woman in Power X, was to connect this diverse community online and in person. I had the idea. I took $2,000 from my savings, put a down payment on the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center since I was living in South Florida at the time, and ran with it. And I like crossed my fingers and prayed that I would attract 500 people. I mean, I rented out a 30,000 square foot ballroom. Wow. Over 1,500 people showed up at that event. And I was like, wow. And I had $0 to market this event, by the way. Like I put my full savings on the down payment and then tried to get sponsors to help me with the cost of all the event. I realized the only way that I was able to market this event was, again, sharing my story, my mission. And so I would go to all these different local organizations to try to share my story of what I'm trying to create, of what led me there, the inspiration behind it. The more I shared my story, the more people wanted to get on board with what I was doing. That's really how I marketed the event, and how I continue to market my business and brand is through storytelling, because it captivates an audience, but it helps them really feel connected to you when you're vulnerable and authentic. And I feel like that energy was then translated to my team, to the volunteers, to our speakers, our exhibitors, to make that event as collaborative as it was, versus just an event where you come and like exchange business cards and you don't really make those real connections, which is what we were trying to change.
I love that. I totally agree with you, because I do remember when I was attending that everyone who got on stage, first of all, the energy was amazing. Everybody was pumped up and excited, and you could tell that everybody had the same mindset. And when people were going on stage, it wasn't like they were just trying to like sell you something. It was nothing like, it was like they were really being authentic, and the storytelling is so real. When they talked, and it's like everybody could resonate with what they were going through, and just really the connection was so there. And I think that is the key. It is, you're completely right. The storytelling, being authentic and making that connection is what gets everyone together and really makes you become more successful. So
I'm glad you felt that.
Yes, I totally felt it. I really, really did. And I think it's really admirable how you didn't give up, going after like 60 locations to do your presentations and everybody rejected you. A lot of times, usually people are going to be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm going to give up. But the fact that you didn't, and you said, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing then. I'm sure those people wish they had said yes.
Yeah, some of them have reached out afterwards, which is pretty cool. And I did speak at their event afterwards. But I will say, just for anyone listening or watching this, like I did feel discouraged. Like I wasn't just like, oh, whatever, like, of course, rejection sucks. Like it's not easy. And for months, I think it was about 4 months, I let that rejection define what I could do. And I felt like, okay, if no one's giving me the opportunity to speak, I guess I can't be a public speaker. But I remember the 4 months feeling that way. Finally, I was just so fed up of waiting. And I had that burning passion inside of me. Like I had to share my story. Like I knew that this happened for a reason. I was I had to figure out what that reason was. And I felt like if I shared my story, I would make a difference in at least one person's life a day. And that became my mission. And I believe that if you have a passion that keeps you up at night and wakes you up in the morning, it's there for a reason. And it's your job not to ignore it. And it's your job not to put your dream in the hands of strangers.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's perfect. So now you wrote also your book, Adaptable, which invites readers to develop a new perspective on their past and current obstacles. Can you tell us more about your book and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, definitely. So I got my book published in 2021 called Adaptable, and it's all about how to adapt to all the things that you cannot control so you can continue to live the life that you aspire to and that you deserve. And it really came about through all the different challenges and lessons I've learned along this journey and how it's related back to the success I've been able to achieve, both personally and professionally. Because when I was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease, it still is life-changing. I mean, like I still have to get infusions every 6 weeks. It's always part of me. I'm always afraid that I'm going to have a flare-up. I'm afraid that I won't be able to make it to an event. It's a real ongoing chronic illness. And for a long time, I allowed it to define, who I was and change my life. But then I, kind of what I said, like I got so sick and tired of waiting for things to change. And I realized like, this is never going to go away. Like I'm never going to get the old version of myself back. I needed to learn how to adapt and say, yes, this autoimmune, this challenge is part of me, but it doesn't have to define me. And that's, I believe, such a key to success because we all go through challenges, big and small. And a lot of times we wait and wait and be like, we wait until we get that perfect job or until we make more money or until we find the perfect relationship or until we move to that new home. And we're always waiting to overcome a challenge. Yet once you overcome one challenge, another one hits, right? Whether it's big or small, that's just life.
Always.
And so right, instead of like living your whole life to overcome these challenges, why can't we turn these obstacles into opportunities and adapt to what we cannot control and focus on what we can? And so Adaptable is really every single chapter has a very personal, vulnerable story and linked to a powerful lesson that has helped me learn how to adapt, how to turn obstacles into opportunities, how to pivot with purpose, and how to thrive through change.
Just to add on, if you're listening and if you have not read this book, it's a great book. It's an easy read, but it really inspires you. And she's very real in it. And you can relate to a lot of the stories and make connections. So I really enjoyed it. Yes.
Thanks so much.
Of course. As I talked earlier about perspective, how perspective is so important. And I know we've been talking a lot about that. A lot of times obstacles, if we have the correct perspective, can push us in the right direction. And if we have the wrong perspective, they can really send you backwards. And I think the key factor of you being so hopeful and successful is the fact that you have chosen to take the negative. I mean, obviously it hasn't been easy. It has been a process, but you've really chosen to take the negative that has been given to you and really turn it into positive. And I just wanted to comment on that, because I think that's the key factor in how amazing you are doing right now is because of this.
I appreciate that. And yeah, it hasn't been easy, but I always think like, what's the alternative?
Exactly.
Just to live with this negativity. You have to find what works best for you. And that's why like in my book, I share different ways to go about it, because I always say like, take what resonates, leave the rest. Because a lot of times I feel like people will try something along this journey of healing or try something in their business from what they hear on the outside. And if it doesn't work, they're like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. But many times you just have to find what works for you, what resonates with you, what you feel is good through your instincts and your intuition. And the main thing is just not give up. I mean, there's been so many reasons why I should have given up. But again, like I always think like, if I do, what's alternative?
Right. That's very true. I think there was actually a part in your book that you stated that everything that up to this point that has helped you to be where you are, the person you're meant to be, is right here. And this was really powerful and resonated with me, because I feel like, just like you said right now, we need to be aware and learn from our experiences and go in the right direction, listen to our intuition, grow and evolve. And as long as we do that, we can continue on the right path. And of course, throughout life, different challenges are going to come to us. So if we learn to accept and also adapt, as you have said, and surrender. So as far as surrender goes, I know a lot of times people might think, well, does surrender mean I just give up? That's it. Can you kind of elaborate more on what surrender means to you?
Yeah, surrender became like a mantra of mine when I was going through my healing journey and still to this day. And it's kind of just surrender to the flow of things. And it's not giving up, and it's not like stepping back and just being like, okay, I'm going to manifest it with just thinking like there's more to it, but it's not getting in your own way. A lot of times we get in our own way because we think we know what's best instead of following our intuition, taking action, but then also surrendering to like all the amazing things that you can attract into your life versus feeling like this is the only path. And where I really learned that was I always thought like I was meant to work in fashion. I always thought my blog Hello Perfect was like my end all be all business that I would grow. And it didn't work out that way for a number of reasons, but I was suffering more than feeling happy and joyful in this process of building. And so there's a big difference between not giving up giving up too soon or pivoting, right? And so sometimes like if things are hard, but this is what you want to do, then it's just about continuing to try new things to make it happen and push through those hard times. But if you feel deep down that you're on this wrong path and you're just staying at it because you're like, you told everyone that this is your dream and now you want to pivot, like that's the wrong reason to stay there. And you're going to experience a suffering versus just like challenges of growing, right? Very different. When I started to finally like not be standing in my own way and just surrender to the flow, that's what led me to like starting Woman Empower X, which it hasn't been easy, but my action has paid off because I am on the right path for me. And then same thing when COVID hit, like obviously like in-person events wasn't a thing. I had to pivot again. I had to adapt, but just believing that there's multiple vehicles to make it happen as long as you're committed to the mission overall.
Yes. And I think you are definitely committed to your mission.
Thanks.
So the other thing I've read is it only takes one. So one connection, one decision, one action step. Can you explain that in greater detail?
It's such a powerful like motto I live by. And it's basically you are only one thing away from possibly changing your life for the better forever. And so you may be one action step, one person, one connection, one decision, one course, one book, one podcast away from having that moment that changes everything for the better. And why I live by this is because a lot of times when you're growing your dreams and your career or just all the things that you want in your life, like even personally, right? You're trying to find love. Like you may be one date away, maybe one swipe on Hinge away from finding the one. But if you give up too soon, you may be just one step away from changing it all for yourself. It really came about when I was at a loss for hope. When I was trying everything under the sun to get healthy and nothing was working. And every single doctor, Eastern, Western, integrative, holistic, like every doctor told me something different. And it was so overwhelming and it was so discouraging and debilitating. I was literally so sick. I couldn't even leave my bed many days. I felt like giving up, right? And everyone's like, oh, just have hope and things will get better. But I'm like, how can I have hope when there's no cure for this autoimmune disease? I have to live with it for the rest of my life. I decided, it took a while, but I decided or had this like epiphany moment to exchange hope for curiosity. Instead of like waiting and looking for hope, which I didn't have, I was like, okay, well, I can look to curiosity and be curious to what may happen if I don't give up, to what may happen if I wake up one more day, to what may happen if I post one more thing on social media, right? And I became curious in my personal life and my professional life of what may happen if I take this one more step. And that's when I realized like it only takes one thing to change everything for the better. And you have to stay curious to not give up on what that one thing may be.
Alexa, I just love that. That's really, really inspiring. I think I'm going to start using that myself.
Definitely use it. I share it to help others.
Yes, yes, for sure. Okay, now the next thing we can talk about is control. So I absolutely loved in your book also when you explained in chapter 7, you said, focus on the things you have control. And I myself, I love to manage everything and kind of control things and make sure everything goes well. But obviously there are things that we just don't have control. And we can try, but a lot of times we give away our energy to those things that we don't have control, instead of realizing that there are two things that we actually have control, which you said that's our decisions and our reactions. So for example, we don't have control about other people's opinion about us, if they like us, if they dislike us. But there are solutions to problems that instead we can focus on the solutions and not the problems. I remember just recently I had a party and I was so worried about the weather because we had crazy weather the whole week. And I remember actually reading it in your book saying we don't have control over the weather. And I was like, Alexa was right. Like, why am I worrying about the weather right now? I can't control it. Instead, I can think about a solution for this problem happening. Could you provide us with additional insights on cultivating a mindset that enables us to let go of unnecessary stress concerning matters beyond our control?
It's normal to think that way. Like I still think that way. And I still use what I mentioned in Adaptable, like to help me on this process. It's literally just training yourself to stop in the thought itself. When you're worried about something and it's like really affecting you, like your example, you're planning a party and it's outside and you're worried about the weather and it's like you're telling everyone like, oh my gosh, it's going to ruin the party, whatever it is. All that worry, there's nothing you can do about it. And it's just, depleting your energy, depleting your confidence, depleting your happiness. And so at that moment, you have to just stop yourself in that worry and ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, you have to find something of what you can control to make it better. If the answer is yes, great. You have control over it to find a solution. And so for the weather, yeah, we can't control the weather, but we can control a plan B to have the party inside. Same thing when you go to pitch like a dream client of yours. You can't control their opinion of you. You can't control who else they are interviewing with, but you can control how confident you feel, how you show up, how much knowledge you have. And so it's all just a process of stopping yourself within the thought, because it's not like, I'm not someone to say like, oh, just always focus on what you have control over, like, and never worry again. Like, I'm human. Like I have the same worries. Like I'm currently pregnant with twins and there's so many things I worry about, but I can't control any of that. All I can control, right, is how I'm feeding myself and nutrition. Exactly. The stress, like all those things. And so I have to continuously remind myself. And so it's this constant reminder, whether you need Post-it notes everywhere or you start getting into the habit of just shifting your thoughts when you recognize it. And then you train yourself to recognize it earlier and earlier to cause yourself less stress and less worry.
Yes, that's what I've been trying to do. And the moment, it's just all about the recognition. The moment you recognize it, you go, wait, okay, why am I freaking out? It's okay. Then it works where you can just change your perspective. And if we can all work on that, I think everybody will be a lot more calmer and less stressed about day-to-day things. So
definitely,
that's a great point. Alexa, I know you have some really nice, important resources that are free on your website. It's to become a better speaker or to create a business plan. But can you also tell us about your personal branding 101 class that you offer?
So we're working on actually a new training around it about storytelling, because it really comes down to, in order to build your personal brand, you have to know how to craft your signature talk. And really, in order to grow your business, you need an amazing signature talk and you need a great personal brand. Everyone always asks, like, how did you grow your career? How did you start WEX? How did you, get into what I'm doing today, working with Fortune 500 companies as a creator, getting paid to speak at events, getting in the press, and everything was around this idea of marketing monetization, which is marketing yourself through storytelling. And it comes down to like one of my signature programs called Speak to Elevate, how to elevate your business through storytelling. It's basically this concept where how you use your voice, there's so many different ways to use it in today's world. So I kind of stray a little bit with public speaking. Like public speaking, to find the old version is like getting up on the stage, podium, but public speaking today is everything from podcasts to Instagram stories to short form video. And when you know how to utilize captivating stories through all of those mediums, you not only can sell and convert at a much higher rate for your programs, for your business, for your products, but you also elevate your credibility and your influence. And that in itself creates a strong personal brand. And why that's so important is because what if you want to do something different in your future, right? What if you want to start another business? What if you want to, start working for a big corporate company? Like there's all these changes in your life that if nobody knows who you are, you always have to start from ground zero. There's this story of the founder of Panda Express. Panda Express is a huge company. He wrote a book and nobody bought it because nobody knew who he was. But if he marketed himself as the founder of Panda Express, then he could have pivoted to grow his personal brand and his book, right? It's the same thing. Like there's so many founders where their books sell out in a moment because the founder's known. And so that's what we work really hard to help founders market and monetize their business and brand through storytelling and through authentic marketing vehicles that also pay them back. Because when you grow your personal brand, you can get paid, right? Paid to speak, paid for your knowledge, paid for sponsorship, creator partnerships. And so there's this whole system that we've created to help founders grow in the most authentic way while also creating additional revenue streams.
But so personal branding is everything. That's very, very important. That's so interesting about the Panda Express. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've heard that when we change for instead for the word to, it helps us change our perspective towards the challenges we face because those moments of hardships can be great teachers. There was a pivotal moment where you stopped asking yourself, why did this happen to me? But instead you asked, why did this happen for me? And that everything shifted for you at that moment because you changed your question. Can you explain that more?
Yeah, as you mentioned, perspective is everything. And I was perceiving my near-death experience and my autoimmune disease as something that was, putting me in the victim seat. When I was saying why did this have to happen to me? I was always putting myself in the victim seat. And so it was kind of why is the world against me? Why are things happening to me? When you say those words, you're perceiving yourself as a victim. And when you sit in the victim seat, you feel out of control to change anything. And the moment I looked at myself in the mirror and one day stopped saying why this happened to me and instead said why this happened for me, that's what led me on the journey of curiosity. That's what led me to say, yeah, maybe this did happen for a reason. I may never know what that reason is, but at least I'm going to go on this journey of curiosity to help myself figure it out because that helped me heal. That helped me rediscover hope. If you just shift the words you're saying to yourself, you can shift your perspective dramatically. And so every single time you're hit with the challenge, you can say, instead of why is this happening to me? Like stuck in traffic. Mm-hmm. Why is this happening to me? You can say, why is this happening for me? Maybe there's a reason, right? Maybe there's a car accident. If you weren't stuck in traffic, maybe there's a reason you need to be late to wherever you're going. And you may never know that, but you have to be okay with that. But again, the whole point is shifting your mindset and shifting how you speak to yourself to help propel you forward. Feel like the universe, God, whatever you believe in is on your side, working for you versus against you.
Right. And it's just along the same lines of storytelling. I feel like the stories that we tell ourselves to ourselves make a huge shift about what is, why is this happening to me? My life sucks. So if you keep saying those horrible stories, you will really believe it. And that's how you're going to live your life. So those kind of stories, the positive stories, the stories that we tell ourselves are really immensely important and shifting our perspective as well.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So, Alexa Carlin, you are a remarkable woman who has triumphed over numerous tragedies with unwavering strength and resilience. From battling through your illness, you chose to embrace life as a realm of boundless possibilities, refusing to succumb to despair. Your exceptional ability to shift perspectives has not only transformed your own outlooks, but also prompted others to embrace life's challenges, adapt, and overcome. Through your courage, you have taught us the importance of relinquishing control over things beyond our grasp and focusing on making proactive decisions in difficult circumstances. By sharing your personal journey with the world, you have become a catalyst for change, empowering others to discover their own inner superpowers. Your impact is undeniable, inspiring countless individuals who've had the privilege of listening to your story. Your strength and resilience resonates deeply within me, and I have no doubt that your influence will continue to inspire and uplift all those who encounter your remarkable journey. Alexa, is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
Oh, that was so nice. Thank you so much. I feel like we just need to leave it at that because it was really nice. No, I would love to stay connected with anyone. You can find me on social media, Alexa Rose Carlin, on every platform, and definitely feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to connect.
Thank you so much. I will link all the show notes to the show. And I'm just honored to have you today. I think it was a lovely conversation, and it was amazing to get to know you a lot better.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together, we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in the need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashur. Until we talk next time.